Amitabh Bachchan's hairstyle had influenced the entire generation, and Shah Rukh Khan had influenced this generation, which is true, they did. And Preeti Zinta's trench coat in Kal Ho Na Ho was, whatever, which is all true.
Sure.
But there is a reverse interaction that happens as well. This is an existing stereotype and a myth in India that students who come on reservations don't study, doctors who come on reservation quota don't know how to operate, people, why should we, kind of propagate that myth? There was this very controversial action that happened in Kashmir where an army officer tied a man to a jeep as a human shield.
Yes.
And 6 months later, you see that in a film.
Yeah.
That exact scene was used in a film. What's happening in India is that our society is becoming very polarized. We're becoming very intolerant. And I mean, you can debate about it, you can yell and scream at people who call it out, but it is the fact, okay?
Do you have concerns around, the Censor board, the Animal Welfare board, this board and that board? And
listen, I have concerns about the Censor board even as an actor.
Oh, and that you do, of course, but as a producer, do you feel like it's just more overwhelming because now there's money involved?
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about that.
Okay. Yeah.
We're seeing the film medium being used so blatantly now for political propaganda and political agendas in India, and which is odd, which is rare for Bollywood. It is not. This is something new for Bollywood.
Right.
So I think that no, I don't feel any pressure. I just feel the pressure to tell clutter-breaking stories. That's what I feel the pressure for, and I feel the pressure of that if I've chosen a subject which is completely outlandish or very weird or very new, which is the subject I've chosen for my next, then I need to make sure that I'm telling that story in a viable budget. Every story has a viable cost. In that cost, the story is viable, it can work. If you tell the same story and make it in 100 crores, it's not going to work. That's not the fault of the story. That's the fault of how you have made it. So now I'm thinking a lot of those things, like as someone who's now looking to become a producer. I don't feel like a producer at all. Let me tell you that.
But do you have concerns around, the Censor board, the Animal Welfare board, this board and that board? And
listen, I have concerns about the Censor board even as an actor.
Oh, and that you do, of course, but as a producer, do you feel like it's just more overwhelming because now there's money involved?
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about that.
Okay. Yeah, right,
I think that's a challenge that I think that filmmaking in India is very hard.
Yeah.
And it's becoming even more tough.
Sure.
Because I think that what's happening in India is that our society is becoming very polarized. We're becoming very intolerant. And I mean, you can debate about it, you can yell and scream at people who call it out, but it is the fact, okay? If it was not happening, so many people wouldn't be talking about it and you wouldn't be fighting so much about it.
Sure.
So I think that it is a very challenging time to make a film in India, and yet at the same time, I think that now there are a lot more platforms, to put content out there. So, I think that everyone who's a creative person and who has the desire to tell a story has to find ways to negotiate. This is our reality now, and every art reflects its reality.
Sure.
There's a very famous, is it Brecht? Or, then it translates roughly to, will there be songs in times of darkness? And then it says, yes, there will be songs of the darkness. I think it's Brecht. I'm not sure. I'll find you the reference.
Yeah. Okay.
But so, that's the same thing for films also.
Right.
That, art is basically human expression. It will find a way to get out, And I think the best example of that is the films that that we see coming out of Iran.
Yeah.
So if larger society is moving in a particular direction, you'll see that in your film. I mean, there was this very controversial action that happened in Kashmir where an army officer tied a man to a jeep as a human shield.
Yes.
And there was a lot of sort of discussion about it, and a lot of people criticized it, and a lot of these sort of nationalists or so-called nationalists and right-wingers sort of lauded it as a great thing to do. And 6 months later, you see that in a film.
Yeah.
That exact scene was used in a film.
Yeah.
I think it was Baaghi too.
Yeah.
So, films are influenced very deeply by society. And I think we don't spend enough time thinking about that. We only talk about, Amitabh Bachchan's hairstyle had influenced the entire generation, and Shah Rukh Khan had influenced this generation, which is true, they did. And Preeti Zinta's trench coat in Kal Ho Na Ho was, whatever, which is all true.
Sure.
But there is a reverse interaction that happens as well. And I think that it's like there's lots happening when it comes to films, and I think that the first step is to be aware of it all.
Yeah.
Like I remember that I've been in this situation a couple of times where, and very recently there's a scene where I'm torturing someone. I'm playing a cop and I'm torturing someone, and the dialogue read, and it's a college student, and the dialogue read, he says, I'm a student, you can't touch me. And I slap him and I say, you call yourself a student. You've entered on a reservation quota, haven't you? Have you ever been inside a class? And people like you, if you get doctor's degrees, what's going to happen? And I just looked at it and I was like, why are we, feeding into existing stereotypes about the fact that students from who come on reservation, and there's a caste angle to that, even if we don't say it, because reservations are basically for the low caste and the SCs and OBC castes or whatever. And this is an existing stereotype and a myth in India that students who come on reservations don't study, doctors who come on reservation quota don't know how to operate, people. It's why should we, kind of propagate that myth in any way? It has no connection to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that. It's not like it has nothing to do with my story, my character, the film we're shooting. And I was just like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Because I don't see any justification or any reason to be doing this.
Sure.
So yeah, I sometimes kind of do take that kind of, I do say those things, like, and that I feel is my way of being aware of, our context and our society. That was really the seed of why I wrote that open letter, on Padmavat.
Yeah.
So I do feel that, you can't pretend, you can't be tone deaf to your context. I know this because of my involvement in Ranjana. And I know that the team of Ranjana had no intention whatsoever of glorifying stalking. While we were shooting Ranjana, Nirbhaya case had happened. I remember this so vividly. We were in Banaras when that had happened. And the film released in June, I think. And in those 6 months, discourse in India had changed because of the Nirbhaya case. In India, the fact that, feminism has led to higher divorce rates. Well, the only difference is that women who are now unhappy in marriages are talking about it. They're saying we're unhappy.